There are many ways to fall from grace. Some angels burn in rebellion, some drown in pride, others choose the shadows willingly. But Kael was none of these. He was the angel of the watchfires, the one who kept vigil on the edge of dawn, waiting for the first spark of sunlight to touch the sleeping world. He was quiet, obedient, steadfast, an angel who never questioned, who never faltered, and for that, heaven forgot him. When the trumpets sounded at the end of days, when the armies of heaven assembled, when the gates of eternity swung open to welcome the chosen, Kael waited for his name. It never came. He stood outside as the gates closed, and as the last golden light faded, silence swallowed him whole. The world beneath heaven is not always a choice. Sometimes it is gravity, sometimes it is absence. Kael did not fall screaming with wings aflame like the rebels of Lucifer. He simply drifted downward. Darkness spread beneath his feet, swallowing the last rays of paradise. He reached upward, but there was no hand, no voice, no remembrance of his name. When he opened his eyes again, he was in hell. The air was thick with ash and iron. Screams shivered through the burning caverns. He staggered, wings trembling. Before he could breathe, they came. Demons. Not the grand princes of the abyss, but carrion feeders, clawing shapes that reeked of rot. They shrieked with laughter as they dragged him into the pits. His wings, they ripped them feather by feather. The white brilliance stained black, then red, then nothing. Bones cracked as talons gnawed through his flesh.
An angel, a forgotten one, heaven has thrown you away.
Kael screamed then, not in rebellion, not in guilt, but in the raw agony of abandonment. Hell was not one place, but many. Kael learned this quickly. Rivers of molten blood carved the land, seas of ash choked the skies, towers made of bone rose like broken teeth. The damned wandered endlessly, each trapped in their own circle of torment. But Kael's torment was different. He could still see heaven. Through cracks in the ceiling of hell, far above the smoke and fire, a light shone faintly. It was not meant for him, never again, but it was there. Angels still soared. They sang hymns that once needed his voice, now perfect without him. Kael sat in the ashes, wings reduced to skeletal ruins, and stared upward. Every moment of his suffering was sharpened by that cruel reminder. Home was still there, untouched, unbroken, and he would never touch it again. The demons came often. They drowned him in rivers of tar, flayed what was left of his wings, burned his skin with brands of fire. They tried to make him howl, to make him curse heaven's name, but Kael did not scream anymore. He sang. At first it was memory, a hymn he remembered from the dawn of creation, sung through broken lips. His voice cracked, but it carried. The damned souls began to listen. The hymn changed. No longer pure, no longer golden, it warped. Notes stretched into lament, into mourning, into something too hollow to be holy. Yet it drew the lost ones. They followed him crawling, whispering his name, though heaven would not. Demons laughed at first, then they grew uneasy. For no matter how they tortured him, Kael's eyes never left the ceiling of hell. His gaze pierced upward, unwavering, as if he could still see heaven, and perhaps he could. Hell has no secrets. Whispers crawl through its caverns like worms.
The Forgotten One does not break. He sings hymns in the dark. He stares at heaven as if he could tear it down.
Some demons mocked him, but others grew afraid. They remembered old prophecies, half-lost fragments of scripture never spoken on earth.
The day will come when heaven forgets its own, and that which is forgotten will hunger. And that hunger will swallow both light and dark.
Some whispered Kael had not been forsaken by mistake, that perhaps heaven had left him there, intentionally. Kael began to wonder too.
Was he forgotten, or was he thrown away?
It began slowly. His hymns changed again. They no longer lifted souls upward with hope, they pulled them downward. The lost followed his voice deeper into the pits, until they vanished into shadows that even hell had abandoned. And Kael fed. He did not know how, he did not know why, but with every soul that dissolved in his song his broken wings glowed faintly, black fire along white bone. He felt something stir inside him, something older than heaven's mercy, something sharper than hell's rage, hunger. He was no longer simply looking upward at the light, he was imagining it, falling, burning, breaking. Heaven had left him here, and now he wanted it to suffer. There is a place in hell where the chasm splits wide, and through its cracks one can see heaven's glow most clearly. Kael stood there often, his hollow eyes never blinked. One night the damned gathered around him, not to mock, not to follow, but to worship. They whispered his name like prayer. The demons kept their distance. Even they feared what was coming. Kael stretched what remained of his wings. Bone gleamed in the firelight. Black fire crawled across him like veins of shadow. He opened his mouth, not to sing, not to pray, but to vow.
I will not beg forgiveness. I will not wait to be remembered. If heaven forgot me, let heaven learn fear. I will drag it down. I will devour its light. I am no longer Kael, the Watcher of Dawn. I am the hunger that waits in the dark.
The earth beneath hell trembled, and far above, though none in heaven admitted it, a shadow flickered across the golden gates. Kael no longer looked at heaven with longing. His gaze was hunger, his hymns were curses. His wings were bone, burning black against the void. Heaven still shone, angels still sang, but none of them ever looked down, and in the caverns of hell, Kael sang his hymn of silence, each note a promise that one day, the forgotten would be remembered. And when that day came, heaven itself would scream,